Hey class, my name is Kaylin Carrington, and I wanted to talk to you about my Old Testament research project. So the character that I chose to research is Abraham. The reason why I chose Abraham originally was because I felt like I knew more about the life of Abraham than I did of some other Old Testament characters, so I went with a safe bet and picked Abraham, and I was pleased with how it turned out. I found a lot of really good information from this study. The first scripture that the name Abraham is mentioned in is Genesis 17:5. Of course, that's not the first time that the character that is Abraham was mentioned in the Bible, but that was the first time that his new name was used. The books of the Bible that you can most find him in are the Pentateuch, and I would most associate Abraham's life with Genesis, although Abraham is referenced throughout the entire Bible. The dictionary that I used to base my points off of is the Dictionary of the Old Testament, the Pentateuch, with the author and editors David Baker and Desmond Alexander. The commentaries that I found for Abraham were the New American Commentary, Genesis 11:27 through 50:26. That editor is Kenneth Matthews, and the page references there are page 175 through 185. My second commentary was the World Biblical Commentary, Volume 2, Genesis 16 through 50. The author and editors are Gordon Wyndham, David Hubbard, and Glenn Barker. And the pages you can find about Abraham there are pages 13 through 32. So the 3 points that I wanted to discuss about Abraham is the first one being his character. The article, in fact, says that you can just summarize Abraham's character in one word, and that is faith. And you see in Genesis 15:6 that it says that God accredited righteousness to Abraham because he believed. So you read in the narratives about Abraham that he was a man of faith. However, we also see that he was not immune to doubt and fear. And so I just think that it's really good for Christians to see that the hero of the faith, Abraham, even he doubted God's plans and tried to take things into his own hands and was fearful. But, God was still faithful to him, and he didn't just abandon him because of a lapse in judgment. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was the comparison between Isaac and Ishmael and how the covenant affected them. So we know that the covenant that God established with Abraham was multi-generational, and this covenant was for a great nation and many other things. And Ishmael was not left out of that as Abraham's actual firstborn son. He was a covenant beneficiary, but not the covenant heir. So Ishmael still was blessed. He still had a great nation, which means a large family that came from him. But the things that were reserved for Isaac were a special nation that is Israel, the lineage of kings, and the promised Messiah to come. The third topic that I wanted to discuss is the theological significance of Abraham's role in the Bible. One of the things that it talked about is the covenant that God made with Abraham being a continuation of God's plan that he had already started in his ancestral lineage through Noah and even back through Adam. That Abraham is related to these guys that God started this whole plan with. The other thing I want to talk about is that on the other end of that spectrum, we see Abraham traced back to Adam and to Noah, and then we see it all the way come through to Jesus being of that same lineage. And we know that Jesus is the Messiah, the fulfillment of that covenant, and that through Jesus there's no longer a sacrificial system, but that people are accredited righteousness through faith, just like Abraham was, and that God is gracious to us, and so that Jesus fulfilled the covenant and fulfilled the promises that God gave to Abraham of a great nation. Now, not just Israel can serve God and can be in covenant relationship with God, but anyone who has faith, just like Abraham. And then that's expanded not just to the Israelites, but now to the Gentiles as well, and so to every nation and tribe and tongue. I really enjoyed this research and this study of digging deeper into the life of Abraham, and I felt like I already knew quite a bit about Abraham's story, but I've learned from this class that we don't just reflect on the story and who the story is talking about. The story is not about Abraham. The story is about revealing God to us through how he interacted with Abraham. And so I just thought that was really revolutionary for my study of the Old Testament. This class has been that I no longer just read to learn about Abraham or David or how great or not so great they were, but that the intention of the Old Testament is not about the characters that are used, but that God uses those characters to reveal himself to us. So I really enjoyed this entire class, and digging deeper into the life of Abraham and the faithful life that he lived has been a joy. I hope you all enjoyed this class as well. That's my little tidbit on Abraham. You guys have a great Christmas.